Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a very exciting unboxing and walkthrough. This is very likely to be a deep dive, so buckle up. This is probably going to be a long one. I have been waiting for this deck for a while. I finally have in my hands the newest printing of the Liminal Tarot. This is the second printing, and this deck was created by Darren Schill and Mike Medaglia, who are the founders of Liminal 11. And we can see the Liminal 11 logo on the box. I am really excited that Liminal 11 sent this deck to me for review. I'm really excited to dig into it. This deck first came out and it was in a glossy finish, and this deck has been reprinted in a matte finish. So I'm really excited to get into it and see the changes to the box and all that good kind of stuff. I did not get this when it was in its first edition, although I was really on the fence, but I am real excited to dig into this one. So I'm going to get into it right away. We're going to take a look together. But first, just a quick note, the Liminal Tarot is designed to uplift and heal. With a soft color palette that gently warms the heart, this deck will wrap your intuition in a positive embrace. Oh, and I'm kind of excited because I'm already seeing on the box some signs of diversity, which is fantastic. Let's get into it. So like other Liminal 11 boxes, there is a magnetic bottom. I believe this deck came out in a different kind of box originally, but this is their current box design, and check this out. It is a poor sort of memory that only works backwards. Lewis Carroll. Love that. Look at this pretty slide out. And the inside is all decorated. Set that aside. I don't know why that's so satisfying. Anybody else like to just play with like magnetic closures like this? Like, it's really satisfying. Anyways, we're going to set that off to the side. Here it looks like is an image of our world and death. We've got the sun and the moon. Oh my God. Okay, so it has that cardboard insert thing again, just like we saw in the Cosmic Slumber Tarot, which, just for comparison, I do have a couple of other Liminal 11 decks here so we can see. But the Cosmic Slumber Tarot has, it looks like the exact same box kind of shape and type with the magnetic closure on the bottom. The Cosmic Slumber has that cardboard insert in here. I wasn't super fond of that. Really cute. So similar kind of style. So let's just, oh yay, but look you guys, the cardboard insert came right out, so our box is really nice inside. I'm guessing that's based on feedback because the cardboard insert in the Cosmic Slumber, I can't say it, the cardboard insert in the Cosmic Slumber Tarot was glued in there, and there was fear that taking it out would rip the really nice interior papers, and this one just popped right out with the cards. I'm probably going to just pitch that. I don't think I need that to keep the cards still, just for hanging around at home. And just like in their other two decks that I have, they have this really nice little hardbound book. So we have a foreword, an introduction, the majors, exclusive cards, minors, how to read, and a few gentle tips, as well as some spreads. I'm really excited to just read this whole thing. As you guys know, I always read my guidebooks. I usually read them cover to cover, so I'm really excited to dig in. But I don't want to spoil myself, so I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for now. Keep the other box bits there. And we're going to take a little look at cardstock, and yeah, really nice. Ooh, this is good. Okay, so I'm going to compare to the other two decks I have just so we have a point of reference. So here I have the Modern Witch Tarot, which is a glossy cardstock and is quite thick. And then we also have the Cosmic Slumber. So let's just do a little cardstock comparison here. So actually, my Cosmic Slumber and my Modern Witch are both glossy. So I wonder if the Liminal is the first one. It must be the first one they've put out that's matte. But let's take a look at the cardstock. So in order so far, I would say if I had to rate them, my preference is probably this one the most, then Cosmic Slumber, and then Modern Witch. But let's take a look at thickness. So here we have Modern Witch. Here we have Cosmic Slumber, which you can see is definitely thinner and more bendy. And this feels really sturdy. It is glossy. And then finally, let's put that one down. I'm just going to compare against Modern Witch because that one's pretty, it's a chonker. So I'm guessing these are the same cardstock. Now the gloss may add a little extra thickness to Cosmic Slumber, but these feel pretty much, yeah, these feel like pretty much the same exact thickness. And just, I don't want to shuffle this one yet, but just for point of reference, the Cosmic Slumber actually shuffles really, really nicely. It is a little stiff, and I think with the gilding, it feels a little extra stiff. But there's bend to it, and I can riffle it no problem. Whereas I definitely did have some issues riffle shuffling. Oh, I left a card in there. I definitely did have some issues riffle shuffling the Modern Witch. So for comparison, such a lovely deck. But this one hand over hand's really nice. But I have a really tough time because it's a very like stiff, like it doesn't want to bridge. It's a very stiff cardstock. Mind you, it's also very, very durable, and it does hand over hand really beautifully. So we'll do a shuffle test of Luna Soul at the end, but I just kind of wanted you to have an idea of the cardstock differences right out of the gate. All right, so, ooh, this feels good. So it feels like it's got some snap to it. It feels like probably a 330 GSM. Oh, okay, we're gonna zoom in so we can like geek out on the cards and the symbols and all of the good stuff. So let's bring it into the center and get us zoomed in. Beautiful. Look at that. Oh, I love how we have the suns here in my background. This is my like perma background, and then I always change them, but I thought this like sun and moon design behind us would be perfect for this deck. All right, let's begin. So here we have our Fool, and right away I'm noticing we have the, is it an alligator or crocodile? I always get the two reptiles mixed up, and a dog, which to me, right out of the gate, is a little bit of a nod to both Thoth and the Rider-Waite-Smith, which I really appreciate. I love that our Fool is coming towards us, and we have the cliff edge here, and we can also see all the mountains behind. You do definitely get also, I think, a feeling of taking... I want to say taking the easy road in a way, because obviously if you're picking which direction to go, backward or forward in the sake of this card, you could climb through all the mountains, or you could just take a chance and go this way. So as an intuitive reader, I feel like that's really exciting to me because it's a different perspective. We don't usually get to see where the Fool is coming from or what's behind him or what he could be choosing instead. So I really, really like that. Oh, I love this soft color palette, and I also didn't talk about the backs. So obviously you'll be able to tell which way is upright and which way is reversed, but I love this day-night contrast here. Really, really, really pretty. Okay, so now we have our Magician, and a couple things stand out to me. First off, we still have the as above, so below imagery with the lemniscate, and we still have the snake eating its tail at the belt. All the tools are floating around the Magician, but then down here on the side are a stack of books and a stack of coins. So there's a few different things you can play with there. The idea of pointing down towards the books and the coins does give that feeling of manifesting one's desires. I think the ravens also definitely give a little bit of that trickster energy, which we can see in our Magician in some traditions of reading the tarot for sure. I just love the wink face. Let's see if I can even bring that in a little further so you can see his facial expression, his or hers. I like that the gender so far, actually, if you look at it, it's a little bit ambiguous, which I appreciate. So love that facial expression though. That is so cute. High Priestess. Okay. Oh, and you know what else I just noticed? So if you look, there's little decorations on the titles here. So we have the sun here on the Fool with a little moon and stars here and some little stars at the bottom. When we move to the Magician, we get the sort of roses, it looks like, and oak. I want to say it's roses and oak leaves. It may not meant to be oak leaves. It may just be meant to be like rosebush leaves. Rosebush leaves? I don't know what the right word for that is. But they're on the frame for the Magician. When we move to the High Priestess, this is why I noticed it. It looks like we've got a half a pomegranate on each, as well as these fronds showing up there. I really like the way these particular pomegranates are illustrated, because they definitely make one think of the feminine, the divine feminine, the vulva, that sort of thing. I'm definitely getting that feeling from it. I also really love how on the dark and light pillars, we also have the moon and the sun right on the pillars, as well as the symbol for water and the alchemical symbol for fire. I'm like stumbling over my words because I'm real excited. But yeah, those alchemical symbols are at the bottom, showing that contrast of, or that balance, I guess, between masculine and feminine. But we still have the foot on the crescent moon, and we still have the little trickle of water over here and the veil behind her. That is the head of a camel who's resting and his little bridle. I also just noticed that half of her face is veiled and the other half is revealed. Gosh, I really, as the yin yang on her book, I have to say, and I know I say this a lot, but as an intuitive reader, and what I mean by that, in case you're ever curious, is that I do read according to what I know about the tarot. So there's tarot knowledge underneath my readings, but I also, case by case, will pull different things from the imagery. So having there be so much rich symbolism in the imagery is always something really exciting for me, because it just gives me that much more to play with. Here we have our Empress, and here she has the wheat framing her title and her number. Okay, I love with a capital L that she has this cow friend, because cows are also a wonderful symbol of motherhood and of nurturing. She still has her shield with the symbol of Venus on it and her staff. Her staff actually has a little fish and a lotus and a flame. It's almost like her staff contains all four of the elements, because you get the idea of almost that earth, air, fire, water all contained within the sphere of the staff. I really love that. Here we have our Emperor. Oh, how interesting. So one of the first things I noticed is he's got this bumblebee on his sleeve, which could be a symbol for divine feminine, that touch of divine feminine within the divine masculine of the Emperor. I love that there's this little lamb, so you get that feeling of protecting one's flock or protecting one's herd, however you want to say that. I guess flock would be the right word. But all our other important symbols are definitely here. We have the sign for Mars at his belt, which is perfect. And yeah, he's got mountains in his frame. I like this, I'm going to say an architect's ruler, which is probably not the correct term at all, and somebody's going to be like yelling at the screen, but it makes me think of architects, and it makes me think of planning and of strategy to a certain point, and thinking of the big picture and mapping things out. So that just gives me this idea of sort of big picture thinking that the Emperor, of course, does bring to the table. Love that. Ooh, the Hierophant. So this one has these like flower type things to either side. We have a sun and a moon underneath the pedestal. The actual pedestal that the Hierophant's on is like made up of waves, and then this character is holding a book with a pentagram on it in one hand and like has a lightning bolt coming into the other hand. And you get this feeling of like connection to the divine, or like receiving messages from the divine here, but also of knowledge and tradition with the book. But then in the front, we have a very priestessy looking character with this crescent moon between the eyebrows, just above at the third eye space, that makes me think totally about the priestesses in like the book series Mists of Avalon, and that sort of tradition of being brought up within a priestess hood. So I feel like there's sort of, you could work with either of these as the Hierophant figure, especially if you struggle with the divine, like sort of the masculine figure in the Hierophant card. I think it's really cute that there's this elephant peeking his trunk out over it, like giving the book a little sniff. I just think that's adorable. Love that. Okay, so this is interesting. I may want to look at the book for this, because the first thing I notice is this like line of what looks like energy or power coming from above. This is the Lover's card. Coming above through the angel to this more feminine looking figure over to this more masculine looking figure here. And I'm just like, is that like, it's almost like, because she looks like she's praying upward towards the angel, and this character looks like they're praying that direction. That's really interesting. Also, there's these two little geese in the front, and I'm curious if that's a symbol for like mating for life, like the idea that, I don't know if geese mate for life or not, but I think they might. I really want to see what the guidebook has to say about that line of energy, if it says. Oh, okay. So I'm just going to read this entry because I think it might give some great perspective. So there's a quote. It says, "I hold your hand and know that there is no greater intimacy. Thank you for sharing your days with me. It will be a sweet sadness to say goodbye. It is the choices we make as individuals that define who we are, but we grow through togetherness. Love is the eternal truth. The gods know it. The animals know it. Humans often remember it, but just as often forget. It is through the ones we love, the ones we can bare our souls, minds, and bodies to, that we discover the truth about ourselves. You are an individual that is interlinked with all of life through love. Celebrate it." Two souls cannot become one, but one soul lifting another through encouragement and kindness can allow another soul to shed its withered leaves, rest, reblossom, and repeat. Whether it is two souls of two people or two parts of one being, it is our opposites uniting that is the map to the way. So I think that this is the idea, is that this soul is connected to this soul, which is connected to this angel, which is connected to the universe. It's a really beautiful sentiment and definitely takes the lovers out of a more limited construct and puts it into something much bigger, which is really appropriate for the major arcana and for the lovers card in general. I also do really like that we have these two very different trees being symbolized here. One that's very curvy and floral, and one that's a little bit more gnarled and has like autumn leaves on it. You also get the feeling that this figure may be bowing to this figure, supporting this figure in a way so that they can, that's just really cool. There's a lot to that. The Chariot card. Oh, yay! Okay, so the Chariot card is also associated with the sun sign of Cancer, and we have these two crabs here, which I just love. It just feels like a nod to the Cancer association, which is fantastic. I love that these Chariot sphinxes clearly look distracted. Like this one looks like it's focusing off over here to the left. This one's focusing over here to the right. This one has a little crescent moon on its helm, and this one is sun. So you do get a feeling of those polarities, and I feel like we're going to see that sun, moon, or polarity kind of, or duality kind of imagery throughout the entire deck. But I love that the central figure here, of course, is focused and looking straight ahead. All the needed symbols that you would see in a Rider-Waite-Smith standard tarot deck is definitely here so far, but it just, there's these fun little twists, and I'm really enjoying that. Oh, and I didn't notice what the, oh, so we have like sphinx wings here as the decorations, and we had little roses with a little bumblebee. Oh, and I just noticed something else. So I'm going to go back to the lovers. She has what looks like a little bumblebee on her shoulder, and this one has like what looks like a little snake or serpent on the shoulder. Can we just also talk about how the bodies, really quickly, I just forgot to mention that in this card, are not like perfected model bodies, if that makes any sense. Here we've got a little pooch in the belly on both of these characters. We've got some signs of possibly some leg hair or stubble on both of them. I freaking love that. Okay, sorry, back to the Chariot. So we noticed the wings. I think I was done with this card. Let's move on. Justice. So here on our Justice card, we see the symbols of the two halves of the yin and yang on either side. We also have a clear night scene on the left-hand side of the card, and then a clear day scene on the right-hand side of the card, which is really cool. I love that we have this little feline here in the front, just on its own little pedestal. I really enjoy when the sword and the scales are both like right up and down, like very balanced. I think that's a good thing to see in the Justice card. We also have for the decoration here, the sword above and that light dark in equal measure here on the bottom. Oh my God. First thing I notice is the turtle in the Hermit card. That is great. I love me a turtle in a Hermit card. But I love that he's not just the turtle, right? We still have this sage figure here. Again, we have a lot of gender ambiguity throughout this deck from what I can tell. Like you could easily, in any character, you know, if you wanted to look at gender in a binary way, you could certainly do that with this deck. And if you wanted to see the non-binary possibility in this deck, it's definitely there for you, which I think is also fantastic. I love that the Hermit character here has the lantern in front of them, like this light of knowledge, and they're clearly on the top of the mountains along with their turtle buddy, but the light that's actually shining or projecting outward is coming from the Hermit's heart, and I think that's really a cool imagery for what the Hermit's journey is really all about. That idea of sort of the spiritual quest or the personal growth quest, and I think that light at the heart space just illuminates that idea. And then we have these little stars on the Hermit's title. Here we have our Wheel of Fortune, and we have water, it looks like, on both the titles. So here we have our T, A, R, and O, but we also have a sun day scene and a moon night scene in the wheel. We also have the white part of a yin yang and the dark part of a yin yang. There's these open books all the way around, which is really interesting. I wonder what the intentional meaning is for that, like the creator's intention. But all four fixed signs are here, and we still have the Sphinx atop. Very classic, this particular one. but with that flair, that artistic style from this deck. And I've got to say, I really like the softer pastel colors. This deck feels gentle, and yet it feels like it's very rich, right? Sometimes with a gentle deck, I feel like sometimes you end up missing some of the deeper symbols, and I feel like so far this one is definitely delivering on the symbology. Oh, look at this strength card. I love the way there's this sort of floral wreath. What do you call this? A garland kind of across her lap and then also across the lion. I like the really gentle way that she's got her hand turned up or her arm turned up, and the lion is clearly like consensually putting his head into her arm as if like he's softening because he trusts her. It's very, there's no power over happening in this card, right? Because the control or the hold is coming from underneath. The yin-yang swirling ball of energy here, also reflected in the sun, just shows that she's coming from a very balanced place. I also think it's interesting because there's almost what looks like in the decorations on this card, like a little stack of balanced stones or something. I really think that's sweet. Here we have the Hanged One. I love that we have a bat over here. I also really appreciate this sort of like oak and birch tree. Again, we get that sense of duality that comes through all of these cards, the different shades in the shirt. I also like that there is something coming off of, like some little droplets coming down from our Hanged One's head here. You could see that as sweat, so a little bit of that like discomfort where we're really going through some growing pains. There's some discomfort associated, but also that could be reminiscent of other ways, of other kinds of sacrifices, depending on how you want to read the card. We also have a little dove here, so you get the idea of peace and of different perspective, but you also get the concept of sacrifice. So I feel like depending on how you personally read the Hanged One card, everything's there for you. I love how the title has the rope, and we see the rope sort of entangled with the Roman numeral 12 at the top of the card also. Look at this death card. Is that a fish? Okay, somebody might recognize what kind of fish that is and what the significance of that might be. I'm definitely noticing that here we have our death figure, but what's catching my eye the most is this plant life that's growing through Death's chest here, blooming into a flower that a little bee is feeding on. And then Death's feet are actually embedded in the soil, and there's little plants coming up. So you definitely get the feeling of like, and the sun is still rising in the background. So you get the idea of endings, but also of the planting and of the way things return to the earth and then grow again. So I love that perspective. What do we have in our frame here? The little roses. I love that. Temperance. 1 foot on land, 1 foot on water. Again, we have the night sky on that side, and we have the day on that side. Here we have daffodils framing the card. I'm really intrigued by this. Is this meant to be a snake? We have another bumblebee again. And those little bumblebees just showing up just kind of bring, I think, a little bit of, I don't know what, like a little guide energy, a little something. I love that there's a dark cup and a light cup being, and the fluid is flowing between them. And of course, the rainbow harmonizing around the temperance angel is really sweet. Oh my, a lot happening in this devil card. So we have autumn leaves on our frame, and we're in the woods here. And, oh, look, there's a little snail here. How cute. So, interestingly, we have two different figures, and each one seems to have been, they're both dangling from the vines of the tree, but each one seems to have been captured for, like, a different reason, if so to speak. This one has, like, a bag of coins all wrapped up, and there's a sword dangling. And this one over here has a sword and has the wine dangling. And you almost get this feeling like they were like, fighting, or, like, each one was individually fighting for either money or to fight to hold on to their habit or the thing that's binding them up. So you definitely get that sense of like personal responsibility, I think, coming through in this card, which is really great. Still the above below. Yeah, again, everything you need to see here, but you definitely get that feeling of being bound up and stuck. Oh my goodness. Look at this Tower card. So the very first thing I notice here is that we have, again, more duality. So we have the ocean waves, so the water roiling up over here on the left side, and we have flames up over here on the right side. But what catches my attention immediately is we've got one figure coming out of the tower, and it looks like she's in this like meditative pose, this peaceful pose. And yes, she has a crown, and the crown is coming off as she tumbles. but she's at peace with like letting go of this. She's not trying to hold on. She's decided to move with the tower, and so she's going to be landing softly in the water. Well, maybe not so softly, but she's definitely landing in the water. Whereas this figure here has a brick embedded in the back of his head, and you get this feeling like he was like resisting it and not wanting to give up the crown, so to speak. So he got hit. You know, it's like, how are you going to experience your tower? How are you going to engage with it? Are you going to make peace with it, or are you going to fight it? Because you're coming out of the tower either way. That's kind of what I get from this card. There's also a little cocoon hanging from a branch up here. I love that the sun is like watching, and the bolt is coming right there. It's almost like that divine intervention when things are out of hand in a way. That's really, really cool. Our star card. Calm and peaceful, very simple. Oh, I didn't notice what was on the frame again. Oh, so we have like clouds. Yeah, we have clouds. Oh, and we have a little butterfly on the branch. So like on the tower here, there was a branch with a cocoon. And then on the star card, there's a branch with a little butterfly. So that's really a cool progression to see from the tower to the star. Love that. Here we have the moon. Big crayfish here in the foreground. We still have our wolf and our little dog. There's these two little flaming wands off in the distance. You get the feeling that you're going to be walking this way. You're going to be traveling along this path. We have the peaceful moon, almost feels like the moon goddess watching in the background. And there's a little door with a sun. At least that's how I see the card. Just in the background there. Lovely, lovely. Okay, I am super digging this sun card, partly because we have the two figures here playing together in the sun garden, so to speak, with all these like really sweet flowers coming up. We've got daffodils and a sunflower and a rose. Beautiful, bright, shining sun. But check out this unicorn that has stuck its head in and is nomming on the grass that they're dancing on. Like, how joyful is that? And then in the frame here, we have little butterflies around our titles. Oh, love that. Ooh, interesting. Here's our judgment card. I think I want to read about this one too. So we have the figure. It's like interesting how there's these clouds. This figure is definitely doing the trumpeting or the calling. And these hands are reaching up behind. And there's also hands folded in front. It's interesting to me that there's this cat sort of floating in the coffin and the rainbow in the background. I'm just wondering, I'm really curious what the guidebook has to say about this one. Judgment. Let's see. Is this it? It is no great thing. I recline and watch the stars. If this was here all along, then where was I? It says the judgment card is the beginning of a new cycle in your life. It is the culmination of your journey. It is a time to be reborn, to rise above your current situation and reap the rewards of a life spent in pursuit of a higher self. In reaching this plane of existence, realize that you are still deeply connected to all planes of being. Your mind is enlightened. Your mind is still muddy. Your spirit is risen. Your spirit is still struggling. You are a spiritual being. You are a human being. The struggle with it was enlightenment the whole time. You just didn't have the eyes to see it. Oh, that's so interesting. You have found that enlightenment does not mean your whole world changes and you can't recognize yourself in the mirror anymore. Instead, awakening is a subtle shift in your consciousness. Understand the duality of life and death. The sun and moon still rotate, but you are comfortable, sat in the liminal space in between, no longer needing to commit to dark or light. You can sit and observe, smile softly, laugh heartily. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. Here we have our world, and again, we see the 4 fixed signs. We have our figure dancing in the laurel wreath here and holding, oh, I see, holding the moon receptively in the left receiving hand and activating a sun energy in the right hand. I love that. Like magically, that definitely speaks to me. It may be different for everybody, but I really, really like the way that that's depicted. I also love the moon below and the sun above. Again, we get duality really is a primary theme, it seems like, throughout the deck. Oh my gosh, we made it through the major arcana and we're on to the minors. Here we have the Ace of Wands. Love that with the sun glowing behind. Here we have the Two of Wands. This is really cool because you get the feeling of a more mature fool who is looking out and like trying to figure out what next. Like it's time to maybe get something done, to start some work, to start the next venture. So what is it going to be? And I love that because you definitely have that sort of nod back to the Fool. And in fact, I'm just curious if there's, yeah, the satchel is very similar. Oh, and I just noticed this is Mars. It looks like Mars in Aries, right, on the satchel. I wonder if we have astrological information the whole way through. That's really interesting to me. Very activating kind of energy for sure. Oh, and here, okay, I really like this. Now, numerologically, I really like this because it looks to me like we're moving from this, what am I going to build, what am I going to do, to having created a structure, right? There's something here. We've started, we've begun the work. There's this rope at the bottom and this idea that we've created a structure that we can then use to continue building, to continue pulling towards ourselves. Whereas sometimes we might see in some versions of the Three of Wands, somebody on, say, a shoreline using rope to pull towards themselves what it is they're trying to bring in. You get the feeling like this figure is setting that up for themselves, right? So that they can draw towards themselves what they want. Yes, Four of Wands. Now we've gone from Three Wands to a much more stable structure here in the Four. The creation of what can be a shelter, perhaps, or a bower of some kind. And the pause to notice how far we've gotten. Love that. The Five of Wands. This is really interesting. To me, this actually speaks of like a hesitance to jump into the fray, that the competitive nature of an environment, for example, and this person like, but I don't want to do things that way. And maybe recognizing that you don't have to engage with this energy if you don't want to. Love that. The Six of Wands. Victory for sure here. The Seven of Wands. Definitely standing sacred ground, holding ground. And again, I didn't point this out, but the titles have the wands all along the bottom next to the titles, which I like. The Eight of Wands. Oh, I love the arrow here and the flames, the wands shooting off upward into the sky. The Nine of Wands. And here we have a much more complex structure that's created a bit of a gateway or a fence to guard. It's interesting though, because you kind of wonder, there's just this big expanse as if this person's very high up on the ground and the mountains behind and the clouds, you get the feeling of a great height, and you almost wonder, well, what are you actually, like, this seems kind of futile because people could definitely go around or above or come in from underneath. So like, are you actually guarding or protecting anything? So it's a great way to ask yourself the question. And then we have the Ten of Wands. And this figure's expression you could definitely work with, right? This could be somebody who's overwhelmed and overloaded, or somebody who's figuring out how to manage despite being tired. There's all kinds of ways to look at that, but I enjoy that. Our Page of Wands. Love this. Love all the fire at the bottom. Again, I'm loving the color palette of this deck. It's just very expansive feeling because it's so soft. I love how the Page of Wands outfit is like super flamboyant and like decorated and like over the top in its own way. Love that. And I love the wide-eyed like kind of expression on our Page's face. I love that. Here's our Knight of Wands riding a lion. Appropriate. His whole outfit is made of flame. He's brandishing his wand. He's a redhead. Gotta love it. This one had purple hair, pink hair. Oh, and then we have our king, and then we have our queen. Love it. Nice going, Darren and Mike. That's fun. So here's our king, and he's got a little bumblebee nibbling, or I guess getting some nectar off of that flower. There's also a little lizard lounging across the top of the throne. We have the sun here on the throne. Totally works for me for King of Wands. I love that our queen is looking dead on and has some sass on her face. Check that out. Like, you're going to mess with me? Really? That's what I get from that. Interesting that there's this little fish above. It's literally like there has to be this nod to the other elements. Interesting. Love that. Oh, yay. I love me a good lotus in my cups suit. I have such an obsession with lotuses, especially in the Ace of Cups, or like a really overflowing cup or like fountain. And here I get a lotus and an overflowing fountain, and there's daffodils growing out of it. Nice. And the cups have little cups to the side of the title. Oh my gosh, this Two of Cups is so great. This has got to be one of my favorites. I think because the Two of Cups card that really solidified what this card means to me personally was the Two of Water in the Osho Zen Tarot, and it was called Friendship. And there was a pink tree and yellow tree, and then where the trees overlap makes orange. And it really helped me to understand that, like, in the Two of Cups, we're looking at people who each contribute something a little bit different. And we see that in the different cups. We see that in the night and day. We see that in the contrasting skin tones even. And then together they've created this rainbow. So that's where their individuality creates a cohesive whole, but they're retaining their individuality, which I think is so important to see in a Two of Cups card. The Three of Cups. And this is another card where I really enjoy seeing differences between the three figures present. Again, I'm really loving the body diversity, and I'm not sure. I'll think about it at the end. I'm trying to remember if I've seen a ton of age diversity. Well, I want to look now, but yeah, I think it's kind of a little all over the place. These decks tend to go a little young, but we'll see. We'll see at the end, because you can't see if I do it now. So Three of Cups. Four of Cups. I love that this figure's in their like bathrobe, and it's a beautiful day outside and it's so dark inside. You really get the feeling of like kind of wallowing here a little bit, in the sense that like just like, oh, life's so boring, I've got nothing to do, but like you could totally go outside and take a walk. Very reminiscent of the kind of energy we see in the Four of Cups. Oh, curled up in the woods, eyes closed, hands on ears, just thinking about what has been spilled. Those cups aren't even around anymore, which is really, I think, a poignant message here. And the two cups that remain are in perfect, they're getting weeds growing around them because that's how long they've been neglected. Oh man, that's really beautifully and powerfully illustrated. The Six of Cups. The first thing I think of when I see this, so we see a young hand, like a immature, like a child or a youth, passing off to a full-size, like grown-up hand here, passing the cup to the grown-up, and it looks like it's been painted. Look at this. It looks like almost like the kid's been playing with paint and is like, look, I made you a thing. Oh my God, that's so perfect. And then in the front, you get these plants, each at a different stage of growth. So you could really look at the Six of Cups through that lens of like, where have you been? Like, where do you come from? Like, where the pattern, like, look how far you've come. Like, look at how you've grown. I'm really seeing that energy in this card. Oh my gosh, I love that. The Seven of Cups. Neck deep in one's emotions, just all the possibilities. What am I going to do? Definitely a really telling card for like, you need to get out of your emotions. You need to clear your thoughts. You need to make a decision from a calmer, more centered place. Love that. Ooh, look at how precarious this Eight of Cups is. There's a few things I get from this right away. Obviously, our figure is rowing away from the Eight Cups. But more than that, you get the feeling like these Eight Cups have like taken up all of the space that they had, almost as if they just kept putting in, like in reality, the pyramid was done after the Sixth cup in this image, right? After that, it starts to look really precarious, and it reminds me of those arcade games where, I don't know if you've ever played these, where like the bricks keep stacking up on one another and like you have to like stop the game so that it stays fairly stable. Maybe nobody will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it makes me think of that, or like a really precarious game of Jenga. And it really speaks to, I think, the idea that a lot of us don't take our Eight of Cups moment until we've put in far past when we should have. Really interesting energy there. I love that the sun is rising in the distance. The crab here, I'm not sure what I think about that. I have to think about that one a little bit, because my head wants to go to like the sign of Cancer, but I don't know if that's intended or not. But I love the way that that looks like energy was put in after, like long after it was time to stop. It's really interesting. Oh, yay! Okay, first of all, love that the Nine of Cups, yes, this Nine of Cups figure looks like they could be like in their 30s or 40s maybe, just body posture and shape-wise. Love that they're sitting in a lotus. That makes my heart happy. I love that the cups that are surrounding them in the ray of sunshine gives the idea of emotional peace and contentment, but we're not necessarily focusing on cups that have like wine in them or something like that, which is always something that I find a little tiresome in tarot when we just see the cups full of wine, because that's so, I don't know, stereotypical, I guess, in a way. But I love this. I love this. And it really speaks to peace within oneself, contentment within oneself. You could see self-love here. Love, 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 love that card. And this is one of my personal, like, cards I look at in a deck that helps me to determine if I'm going to really like the deck or not. So a good 9 of Cups, always a good thing, in my opinion. The 10 of Cups, okay, I freaking love this because this, to me, looks like chosen family specifically. You could see adoption here. You could see blended families here. You can see potentially polyamory here. You could see community here. You could see a school here. Oh my gosh, I love that. There's so many ways you could interpret this grouping of figures in the foreground. And again, the 10 of Cups is one of those cards that can be difficult for those who have been raised in like challenging families, and the idea of that sort of nuclear family is really like tough. This just gives so many ways to look at the card, and yet you still get the idea of like different ages and different levels of experience and like this cohesive whole. And oh, I'm really liking this. Can you tell? Can you tell I like, oh my gosh, look at the Page of Cups. Okay, sorry. So 9 of Cups, Page of Cups are among the cards that I look for, and the Page of Cups is my most frequent significator. And here we have not only a curvy Page of Cups, but she's in like a mermaid dress, and she's got pink flowing hair, and she's like full of magic, and she's floating above the ocean. And I am living for this. She looks like she's literally half mermaid. There's fish jumping around her. She's looking up at the moon. I love her. I love her so much. There's our Knight of Cups riding a fish. That's fantastic. I also love that there's a shooting star in the background and that he's damp, so you get the idea that he's definitely been jumping up out of the water. Our Knight of Cups is definitely a dreamer and a quester, and the shooting star in the background and like the fact that he's diving in and out of his emotions just really works for this card. Oh, I like that our King of Cups looks really super like friendly. He's holding his cup out. He looks like his throne is made of a wave, which I love. I love that even the faces on these figures are like imperfect, right? Like our King of Cups has like kind of a funny shaped nose. And I love little details like that. It makes this deck feel more human and less, it makes it feel like real people you could meet. You know what I mean? Oh, look, and our Queen of Cups has curves too. Living for it. I love that her cup, her goblet, looks like it's made of the moon. And then on this side, she's holding what could be, I don't know, like the essence of yin energy. I wonder if the king, no, that sphere of black, it makes me think of scrying. It makes me think of just like being in touch with that ultra feminine energy, which of course the Queen of Cups can sometimes represent. I adore her also. And I really like that she does look like she could be a matured version of our Page of Cups. And oh my gosh, sorry, I'm just geeking out on this deck. Good thing I warned you guys that it would be a deep dive, eh? So we're already like quite far in. The Ace of Swords, piercing through the triple moon. And then also the crown. That's really interesting. It's almost like this is meant to be the hilt, right? Or what do you call that thing that's the blade guard? I don't know. What do you call the thing that's that's over the hilt between the blade? Anyways, I like that. That's the point I'm trying to make. You still get the feminine masculine energy in balance in this card, even though Ace of Swords is arguably a very masculine type card energetically. The Two of Swords. This to me literally looks like somebody who was like trying to make, maybe she was sitting at the water trying to make her decision, as we see in the classic Rider-Waite-Smith, but she's like, nope, don't want to decide. I'm just going to plunk these swords in this dirt here and I'm going to head out and I'll be back when I'm ready to make a decision. This feels like avoidance in a way to me, which is really interesting. The blades in this picture have rusted. At least that's how I view these blades. It looks like they've rusted. And the daffodils have grown up around the blades. So I think that's really interesting. We have the sign of Libra here on the hilt, or the blade guard, or whatever we decided that was called, here, at a yin-yang there. Balance, equilibrium. Three of Swords. 3 swords piercing 3 different pieces of a heart. I almost kind of wish they'd gone a different way with this card, simply because I feel like they've been so, like, even though it's Rider-Waite-Smith, clearly Rider-Waite-Smith inspired, there's been a lot of deviance in really creative ways, and I feel like there might have been an opportunity missed here, but I mean, I say that a lot for 3 of Swords, at least I think I do, maybe I don't. In my head, I think it, because I just want more, but I do get the point, and it works. The Four of Swords. This almost looks like almost like a martial arts training space, like a dojo of some kind. That's probably not even the right word. I apologize if that's the wrong word. Martial arts people, I'm sorry. But I love how all of the like training blades look like they've been set up and put away, and now it's time for meditation. It's time for, maybe it's the end of the sparring and everybody's taking a moment to sort of soak in what they've experienced and learned in that day's session. The Five of Swords. This is pretty grim, hey? So you got this dude in the background who's like, I won. And then these figures are hiding. These figures are, oh, it's almost like, actually, when I look at this, I almost see it like this dude and these people here are all on the same, like, side. And then he's so gone overboard that not only has he's won, but in a really gruesome way, but he's created mistrust even with his teammates or his battle mates, or however you want to view that. I think that's really interesting. I think that's kind of what I see there. Ooh, the Six of Swords. This is so interesting because we normally see really like just rowing away or swimming away from the drama, the difficulty, the trouble. Here we can see that we're really having to navigate across the experiences we've had. We have to navigate through our own baggage in a way to truly break free. We can definitely see that the soil behind us is barren and the soil ahead is growing flowers, and there's opportunities to do better, but it feels very precarious and like tiptoey, and this can be very much 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of energy, and I think that's really smart for the Six of Swords. Seven of Swords. Interesting. So this figure's got 6, and it's like they want the 7th, but they're hidden now. Are they going to take the chance and grab the 7th? There's other ways to probably look at that, but that's what kind of captures my attention right away. The Eight of Swords, high up, holding. Oh yeah, so the arms are crossed in front of the chest, and she's bound. There's a single sword between her and the ladder that will get her out of this predicament. Love that. Wow, there's some wakeful stress and anxiety in the Nine of Swords. The Ten of Swords. No blood, not lying on the ground, but definitely feeling just done. And yet it's interesting that every single blade that has stabbed this individual is also sprouting flowers. So there's this opportunity to grow beyond this moment. The Page of Swords. She feels very air. I love that. The Knight of Swords. I love that he's winged and not riding something, and he himself is like the wind. Oh, this King of Swords looks like he's part air himself. I love that. Look at that. He's so like ethereal. His entire throne is made of clouds. Look at her. She's a badass, the Queen of Swords. Love that. Oh my gosh. Okay, last suit. We have our Ace of Discs. I love all the growth. Growth in the discs really works for me because, of course, it's the earthly suit. The Two of Discs, the balancing, all the butterflies, a yin-yang and a sun-moon type dualistic symbol, just like we see on the back of the cards here. That symbol is what we see there. It's kind of like a reimagined yin-yang style symbol. That's how I take it anyway. The Three of Discs, love this, love that they're working together. I love that each person's contributing something a little different. You get the feeling like this person's doing more of the manual labor. This person's maybe providing some financing. This person's maybe contributing ideas, which I really enjoy. I don't normally see that kind of like unique contribution shown necessarily in Three of Pentacles or Three of Discs cards. The Four of Discs. This is really fun. So this person has like managed to lock themselves in a very barren room with just their 4 precious discs. That's it. Nobody can come in or out. They've got their 4 discs. They're safe. They're protected, but like not much of a life. The Five of Discs. This person just feels like they're laden with responsibilities and perhaps even overworking themselves or their problem. There's a really lovely tree, a spot where they could maybe go and rest and find some shelter, but they're just working through their discomfort. The Six of Discs. Generosity and sharing, charity sometimes. The 7 of Discs. All the work put in to grow this plant and just looking at it and being like, okay, please be a good harvest. Please be a good harvest. It literally looks like a tomato plant to me. I don't know if that's what it's meant to be, but tomatoes, I feel like I don't grow stuff because I kill stuff. Peggy grows things when we have garden space. But this literally looks like somebody who like put in a lot of work, and tomatoes can be a lot of work. Like if you neglect them at all, they just don't produce. They need lots of water and lots of checking on and all that kind of stuff. You could also choose to see this figure whose shape is a lot more curvy. You could choose to see them as pregnant, which gives another layer of meaning to the card as well. Our 8 of Discs, craftsperson refining their craft, they're making these beautiful ornate discs. The 9 of Discs, a vase just brimming with beautiful flowers, getting to just enjoy one's successes, one's luxuries. This, oh my gosh, I just looked to the side and my dog has managed to roll himself onto his back. I'm going to see if I can actually, like, show it. Hold on. Hey, Bruno, what you doing? All right, let's continue. 9 of Discs. And there's our 10 of Discs. Everything well planted, an established household up high on the hill, enjoying a meal with their family or their community. Page of Discs, feet fully buried in the earth, flowers coming out of their head, very earthy in the earth of earth, right? The Page of Discs. Love that. Again, love the like little hints of leg stubble. Love that. The Knight of Discs. I love that he's riding a like bull or I guess a cow, something slow moving. I shouldn't say bull. It's probably cow. Love that. Next we have the King of Discs. I love that his whole throne is basically like this like twisty, gnarled up tree trunk bamboo behind him, which is kind of interesting. A little more flexible than the throne he's actually in, which is really just caught my eye. And our Queen of Discs. Oh, I love it. She's got a deer here, a fox that she's like petting here. Love that. Oh, and then we have our extra cards. So Wu and Wei, I'll have to look those up. And duality, which of course is perfect. We have all kinds of duality represented throughout this card. Love that. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's zoom out. Let's zoom out. Am I crooked? I'm totally crooked because I moved the camera to show my dog. Okay. Let's straighten it out. Okay. So let's do a shuffle test and then we'll take a quick look at the guidebook. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, so these are sturdy. Again, a little stiff. It's a 330. I'm pretty sure it's a 330 GSM. Might even be a 350. But it does have flex, and there's no gilding. Nothing to cut into your hands. Really, really, really beautiful. Bruno is literally beside me being so cute. Oh, okay. Throwing cards around. All right. Let's do one more random pull and read what the guidebook has to say. So we have the 6 of Wands. So in the guidebook, after our foreword and our introduction, we get into the majors. So you get like a little color. It's full color throughout. You get a little thumbnail. You get these like little distilled quotes and then the full write-up. And then in the minors, I think we have less. Yeah. So in the minors, you have just a little paragraph or so per. There is also an introduction to the minor arcana here, which is nice. Oh, here's our bonus cards too. So Wu and Wei, does it say what that means? To act in accordance with destiny. Nothing is simpler, nothing is harder. When we exert all our strength and effort, do we achieve the most? When we demand that our views are correct, how many do we convince? Is the victory that is Pyrrhic merely one step towards ultimate loss? And then it goes on from there. So that's the Wu Wei card. And then the duality card obviously speaks about duality. So let's find our 6 of Wands here. 4, 5, 6. Victory. Your trials have led to success. Go forth with confidence, knowing that you can now reap the rewards of your hard work. Challenges have been overcome. It's time to celebrate your victories. Love that. All right. And then spreads wise, we have a couple 4-card spreads, a relationship spread, a Celtic cross, the Luna Soul spread, which is a 7-card spread. Oh, look at that. In between black and white is not gray. It is all the colors in the world. Oh, that's so pretty. Oh, I'm so excited. So I hope it was fun to come along with me during this deep dive walkthrough of the new printing of the Luna Soul Tarot. Thank you again to Liminal 11 for sending this to me for review. As always, when I'm sent decks for review, I always give you guys my honest impressions. So I really appreciate you hanging out with me. It's really fun for me to dive into all the symbology the way that I do in these deep dives. So I hope this was useful to you. I will have a link where you can pick up this deck down below. I did receive it, I believe, in advance of the formal release of this printing. So I'm not fully sure if it's currently available just yet, but if not, it will be very, very soon, I'm sure. So keep your eyes out for that if it's not currently ready to purchase. But it feels and is experienced to me very much like an indie deck, just like all of Liminal 11's decks. They've all had quality, independent feel. Liminal 11 is a small publishing house, and they clearly put a lot of thought and care into their production. So I really, really appreciate what they do. I think it's really great. This is a fantastic deck, and will probably give my This Might Hurt Tarot a run for its money. I love having decks like this to pull for client work. I love the diversity. I love the relatability. I love the richness of the symbolism, and the soft feel, I think, just makes it really approachable and really usable, I feel like, right out of the box. And you don't have to deep dive into every card to get all the really wonderful meaning out of it. So this was a lot of fun to do. Oh, I forgot to fan my cards. What am I doing? What am I doing? I wish you guys could talk to me. Be like, Lisa, you got distracted again. Don't forget to do your fan. All right. Oh, they're clumpy. They're a little clumpy. They're new. They are matte. Let's see how we can do here. If you are a fanner, don't forget, you can always get some, I think they call it fanning powder. I usually find decks like this kind of break in over time and fan a lot better. Ooh, I did a good job. All right. That, my friends, is the Luna Soul Tarot, the newest printing. Thank you so much for coming along with me for this deep dive walkthrough. I am probably going to put this video up immediately because I'm excited to share it with you guys. So this will probably be a bonus video on the channel. Please do remember to click like on this video if you enjoyed the walkthrough or found value in it. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're new here for more deck release walkthroughs, tarot related content, witchy content, self-worth goodies, all that kind of stuff. As always, thank you so much for joining me, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye guys.